Welcome everybody to Boom Bap Bros podcast. We're back with another episode, this time talking about Isaiah Rashad's The House is Burning album. I am Pat G at PatG563, and I've got my brother ALEC here with me. What's going on, Al?
What's up? Ready to go here. Another episode?
Yeah. Sadly, our third host, Roger at RajDog_16, can't be with us here today, so go ahead and give him a follow and see what he's up to outside of the podcast. But we're hoping that we'll get him back for Kanye's Donda album whenever we get a chance to review that, because we've been waiting for that thing to drop. It's been two different events now where he's said, hey, we're about to figure it out and release it, but we'll see when that comes through. So waiting on that, but
hopefully we can bring up the energy in the meantime.
Yes, definitely. And we've got The House is Burning by Isaiah Rashad. So this is his third LP, and it follows 2014's Sylvia demo and 2016's The Sun's Tirade. And I really enjoy both of these projects. I think Isaiah Rashad is a really unique voice in hip-hop, and he's got a lot to offer and talk about. And there was a lack of music from him after those projects came out. He's on Top Dog Entertainment, the same label that has J-Rock and Kendrick Lamar and Schoolboy Q. So they normally release when they can, but they're not, rushing to have everything out every year, every couple of years, obviously, as we're waiting for Kendrick for going on 5 years now. But in 2020, he actually came back after a relative silence for a few years, and the single Why Worry actually came out. And let's go ahead and take a look at this track, because I enjoyed this a lot, and I was excited to hear more Isaiah Rashad as we were getting, tracks from Top Dog. You can see this art here. They did a whole series where they had their different artists on the label sort of have minimalistic album art, single art, and they just put this track out. No release or anything to accommodate it or, go with it. And I really enjoyed this track, Al, but were you that aware of Isaiah Rashad before, or was it probably about 2020 when you got into him? I'm just curious with your background with this artist.
Yeah, so I had a little bit of exposure with him before, because I had heard him in some features with SZA and some other TDE artists. So I had a little bit awareness of him, but I had never gone checked his stuff out. I had checked out all the other TDE members, even getting my way through Absol's work, but I think Isaiah Rashad was the last guy up on my list. And then finally, when all the stuff was coming out this year, when he dropped his first single this year and announcing that he's finally going to be returning to music, I was like, okay, I think I really need to go back and check out his old stuff before introducing myself to his new stuff coming out here. And I was extremely impressed by Sylvia demo. When I listened to that, I was blown away. I was like, it's been 6 years. Why did I never check this out? It's right up my alley. He was really unique production, and his style of rapping, especially among TDE members, doesn't really sound like anyone else in there. And he's just really lyrical, really good with fitting into certain pockets and really riding on the production that he chooses. So I think he has a really good ear and a really good mind with coming up with different lines, different bars, and not only just writing in a certain way, but making the deep bars also sound really cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, that and Sun's Tirade I didn't like quite as much, but I was also I was still a really big fan of that. And the 2020 single that he put out, I put that in my playlist too. So I was really anticipating this album once I had finally put myself through everything before.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I'm glad that we can agree that we're really anticipating this release and excited to hear more music from him after he had put out some really good stuff that maybe we didn't get to immediately. But I think Top Dog has that staying power and that lasting longevity that a lot of labels strive for or really can't attain. So, like you were saying, he came back after that. It was about summer of last year when Why Worry came out, and he was just in a carefree mood, sort of talking about how he's not stressing about the fame or fortune or anything that he has accumulated throughout his career. But then we got a different perspective the following year. And The House is Burning was not officially announced when the first single came out in May 2021, but Wit Ya was released, and it features Duke Deuce, and the video is really cool. It came out May 6th, and so this was the lead single, and super repetitive and fun radio type track. And the moment this came out, I was like, okay, there's an album on the way. Like, I knew what to expect and was excited to go on from here. But yeah, we'll just scrub through this video here and sort of check out some of the visuals that he put together for this track. But you can see a man of my own heart. He's actually riding around in a Jeep, although this one's way nicer than the one that I had in high school, man. Sometimes I miss that car, but I know it's not nearly as nice as this one. But you can see he's just riding around with girls, hanging out and partying. Like, yeah, look at that light bar, man. That's a dope car.
Yeah, all I remember with your old Jeep was how cold it was driving to school.
Yeah, because the vents barely put anything out, air or heat. I'm sure his Jeep isn't the same way, but
no,
it's
he's
dope.
fine.
Yeah. And then you can see it's pretty much like a posse cut here. They're all hanging out, and the beat really hits hard on this track. So I was happy to see him coming back and embracing sort of a new sound. I wouldn't say this is akin to his previous releases exactly. It's definitely an evolution. So after so much time off, I was excited to hear some new vibes from Isaiah Rashad. But yeah, what do you have to say about this video, Al?
For sure. Yeah, I thought, the video, that one in particular, I wasn't like, like the video wasn't what I was focusing on. Like, I just really like the song a lot. I thought the video was just like, yeah, it's like a cool regular like hip hop video. It wasn't really surprising me all that much, but I really liked the song. It was a good banger and like Duke Deuce was really good on his feature. And like, I think that's something that we'll be getting into this album a lot. A lot of guys and girls that I'd never heard of really putting in great work on here. So like, I think Isaiah Rashad really introduced a lot of like new people to me here.
Yeah, I haven't looked up too much about each of the featured artists, but Isaiah Rashad is actually from Tennessee, so he's got a unique perspective, as we don't really see that many artists outside of Nashville and the country music scene coming out of Tennessee. So a hip-hop figure to be releasing stuff on this high of a playing field is super cool to have a voice from there in the country. So
yeah, I was surprised with that because I didn't even know he was from Tennessee until starting to like look at stuff for this album and review. And like with him being on TDE and everything, I just kind of assumed he was from out west, because pretty much everyone in there is like California based except for SZA, who is from like St. Louis and New Jersey.
Gotcha.
And like I guess it makes sense that he's kind of not from out west too, because they were like, those two were like affiliated. They were like dating at one point.
Interesting. Yeah. So the second single leading up to the album was Headshots, and then in parentheses, For the Locals is the name of the track, and that actually came out on June 18th, so about a month later. And if I'm not mistaken, this was when he showed off the album cover and announced that the name of the album was coming, and it sort of moved on to generate some more hype for the project. So he released a video alongside this one as well. And I think all of the videos that they put together for this project have been really cool. And I'm glad they took more of a traditional release schedule with this. You know, they had the song in May with the video accompanying it, and then this one came out in June with the video accompanying it. And then I'm not certain if we knew by then, but the release date was July 30th. So he might not have announced the release date at the same time as the cover, because I remember for a while we were just waiting on the release date, knowing when the album was coming out. But this is just another really catchy song. We'll get into our thoughts about each track when we go through the track order, but the video, you can see this is sort of like an AA meeting type of confidential, sharing your struggles. And in the lyrical content of this song and so many others on the album, you can sort of get Zay's perspective on what he struggles with, even though you see, you know, he's a multimillionaire selling all these records and stuff. He still has struggles that he's going through. But I really enjoyed this track as the second single. Like the first two singles on this are really great, and I still don't think, I don't know, those songs might be in my top 5 for the album, but I think the album in general is so good that some of them might slide out or slide up depending on how I'm feeling that day, that type of thing. But yeah, I mean, this video is pretty simple. You can just see they had a couple of different sets and some cool cinematography here with how the cars are all outside of them, and then the camera just pans away.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was cool. And then they focus on roulette, and yeah, just some cool imagery throughout that I thought was interesting. But it's always cool to see how artists imagine their songs with a visual element, because it really adds a lot to it. So you can see here the same Jeep from the last video, and I'm sure that's got to be his car, right? Like there's no way that's a rental. If he's got it in both videos, he's got to own that thing.
Yeah, most likely.
A lot of rappers will just rent a cool car for the video, but top dog, man. Did you like this Headshots video?
Yeah, I thought the video was pretty cool. I think more than anything, with this song, like when it came out as a single, like I liked it back then, but I feel like since I've had the context of the whole album and listening to it, I've like, it's really stuck out to me, and I've really like grown on, like this song's grown on me a bunch. Like when it first came out, I thought it was like pretty good, not too special, but like now, like I'm really in love with this track.
Yeah, and then after that, we go ahead and get What You Said, and this video came out pretty much right up to the album's release the week before, and it got a video the same day. And I think this is probably my favorite video from the series leading up to the album's release. But in the beginning here, you see he's just chilling in the hot tub, talking with these women chilling around him, and then it cuts to this luxurious mansion, and we get to see, you know, all these different shots and crazy stuff going on in the pool, and pretty much a big party. Like, look at how many people here. I hope they're all vaccinated.
Yeah, facts, though.
But he's pretty much just showing off in this video, sort of akin to the first one, but it's obviously during the day and not at night. And, yeah, they just had a house party and got a ton of shots for the video through it. There you go. There's something that you can look forward to if you check the video out. But
I think it's funny with this video and song, because it's totally like this big old hype flexing video, and then the way he's rapping on there, he's not rapping like at all what you would expect with a video like this. It's,
right,
like he totally sounds different than what like the visuals represent. I think it's just funny how it like balances.
Yeah, but then the next week, right after this, we get the album release, and we get to see, you know, all the tracks in order and actually break down how we're gonna think about it in sequential order outside of just the singles that they released throughout. So why don't you go ahead and introduce the first track, Al?
Yeah, so the first one on here, we start off with Darkseid, named after the DC villain, traditionally against like Superman or Batman. But I thought this was a pretty good one to start off going in. It had some cool effects with the production, where it has like a car starting at the beginning of the track, and then it goes through. I think it was pretty chill. It wasn't one of my favorites from here, but I thought it really rode well. It was like a low-key flow, but like fast how he went about it, and I thought it worked pretty well. And it like goes to the end of the song, and where he's like turning the car off, and it like started the theme of that like goes throughout the album. There's a lot of like background sounds that he puts through that are a lot of what's the word for it? Like it would be in a movie.
Non-diegetic sound, or
exactly,
or yeah, isn't it non-diegetic? I don't want to be wrong. I'm actually gonna look
it would be diegetic, so it would be like what the characters are hearing.
That's natural sound, right? So any sound that emanates from the story world of the film, so that's diegetic sound. So he had a lot of environmental stuff going on and sort of scene setting throughout, and I really appreciated that. Like, as someone who is really into film as well as music, I think setting sort of a cinematic soundscape with that really laid the groundwork for you to chill. Like, you were either in the South chilling with Isaiah, going through the daily motions that he does in a week or what have you. It just really laid the scene. And yeah, I mean, at the beginning of this track, he inserts the tape into the radio, and the vibe just takes over as soon as the music starts playing. I think the sample on this first track is really good, and there's a lot of vocal styles that Zay gets into immediately and uses throughout the album as well. And I think that layering of vocals as well as really intense production that you can sort of pick apart with your ear while listening to it, off the rip made me super excited to listen to the rest of it. And at the end of the track, obviously stops the car and you can hear him pulling the e-brake up and gets out of the car at the end. So we're going into the house from there on. So let's go ahead and take a look at the lyrics on this one. And yeah, at the beginning here with the chorus, it says, what am I supposed to do outside but get rich? And that's really catchy too as we go on through here. And so, yeah, as soon as we get into it, I'm excited for more. And I really appreciated this first track being named after Darkseid as well, being a really big DC comics buff that I am.
Yeah, I was wondering if he was going to have like some bar in there, like referencing it, but nah, just only on the title with it. Yeah.
Yeah, track 2 is From the Garden featuring Lil Uzi Vert. And this was a repetitive and really loud song, but it stuck in my head as soon as I heard it. Like, I was listening to this album in the car, at home, riding my bike, and whenever this came on, track 2, I was like, okay, this is just stuck in my head now. I feel like Isaiah Rashad is really good at crafting choruses and refrains that are catchy and memorable. And the crow noise and vocal sample in here were really good compliments to the beat, too. And then when Lil Uzi comes in, his verse is just funny in general, I think. And he says, I like repetitive beats. And I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense for your music. I was like, that's really cool. And he's talking about how he isn't just with one girl. He says pretty much, psych, I actually am all around. I'm a repetitive freak. And that's to no one's surprise, really. And I just think Zay gets into a really dope pocket in here, like you were saying earlier, about how he gets into a pocket and sort of explores every reach of it, or makes it really fit the vibe of the song and work with the beat well. So From the Garden, what'd you think about this track?
Yeah, I thought this is one of the like most bangeriest type songs on here. Maybe not one of like my top 2, top 3 of like personal favorites, but I thought definitely they came like Zay and Uzi both came out bussing, like they were saying on this song. And I thought it was really interesting. Like, I feel like Zay on the song, he kind of got into the pocket that like Uzi or Playboi Carti or like that, or like even like the Migos, like kind of style of rap is like what his flow reminded me on here. But it still sounded like Isaiah Rashad. It didn't sound like he was doing an impersonation. It just kind of sounded similar to it.
So do you think he approached this song with the feature in mind, or he was just had it ready and then got the feature afterwards? What do you think was sort of his process in this one?
I don't know how his style would be necessarily, but the way it sounds, it kind of seems like Uzi was in the he was like in the room for the creation of it. I feel like he was definitely in mind with how the beat was crafted and how like Zay styled his verse.
Yeah, check out the lyrics on this one. He just, from the beginning, came out bussing, came out puffing. Like, it just super catchy, the pocket that he gets into right away. And then, as I said, the beat being repetitive as it is, like the different samples that are on there make it a really good listen. And yeah, here's Lil Uzi's verse if you were interested in what he says on here. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Lil Uzi Vert. I don't normally check out his solo music because that's just not what I'm really a fan of. No hate at all. It's just not for me, and I can respect anybody who likes it. But I thought he came on here and had a good time. And I mean, I think this bar here is funny. I be effing with the bees, like Muhammad Ali. Whoa. And then Dipper uppercut the Sting. So yeah, he's got some bars on here, but Lil Uzi Vert's just a character in general. So if you are a fan of his, then you'll like this song, I'm betting, because Isaiah Rashad gets into a similar pocket with his verse as well, and he comes in at the beginning and then at the end here and closes it out with the chorus. So this was overall just a really cool track. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, that was definitely a fun one on there. Yeah, that brings us into the next one coming up on here is R.I.P. Young, which I thought was a pretty cool track on here. It was one of the first ones I saw, like on the day of it dropping. I saw it was trending on Twitter, R.I.P. Young. So it was one of the first ones I saw people talking about. And I was kind of surprised because I don't think this was maybe one of the, like, after processing everything through this album, I don't think it was one of the ones that stuck out to me the most, but I thought it was still a really good track. I think it might have just been since it was one of the early ones. A lot of people heard that one early on and were like, oh, this one's really good. But I feel like there's a lot later on that shine even more than this one. But I thought, like, it has a cool beat. It's not the most complex, but it rides really well, even though it's kind of simple. And I really like the hook where he's like, I'm not a cool cat, I'm a top dog. Like, that whole thing. I thought it was a cool shout out on there. So I really like this one.
Yeah, I did too. And the sample on here is actually Cheese and Dope by Project Pat. So shout out to the other Pat. But it's sampled over a pretty simplistic but really beautiful beat. I like how they layered everything in here. And it was interesting to see that that was trending on Twitter. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly why. Same curiosity sort of hits me at, but maybe it was just because it was one of the earlier tracks. But here's the lyrics on here. The first part is a sample, and then it goes into the verse. And shout out Chicago. You know, my plot was colder than Chicago in December. And then, and when I'm in the Midwest, she say, holla at your family. Yeah, this was just a cool vibe, and just keeps it going on. Spaceships fake broke Kanye. What's the annotation on it? Spaceships is a song. Kanye. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fake broke. But yeah, a longer chorus on this one, and obviously shouts out Top Dog. So that's really cool inclusion, and leads us on to the next track, track 4, which is the single that we were talking about, Wit Ya, featuring Duke Deuce. So this was the lead single we had already heard, and as track 4, it comes in perfectly as a single can on an LP. You normally want to have your singles in the front half, but I mean, people have done a lot of different things with singles over the years, so it's just traditionally within tracks like 2 to 6 that you have the lead single or the majority of your singles coming out from the album. And Wit Ya was really cool. Like, it was a repetitive chorus and a dope outcome overall, and it just leads you to a track that you got to turn the volume up for and vibe out to. And I hadn't heard of Duke Deuce before this, but I thought his feature was pretty cool too.
For sure, I definitely agree on this one. Yeah, like I think Duke Deuce, yeah, he really surprised me on here. I thought he came through really well. Thought it was a really cool feature he dropped on. Really cool beat on there. Like I think throughout this album there's a lot of ones that have like really heavy drums that hit in, especially like that are good for situations where like you're in a car or you got like really big speakers. I feel like the drums are really hit hard on this album, especially on this track. And yeah, I thought the whole cadence he got into on the hook, the like I thought that was pretty catchy. So catchy hook, really good feature, really good like drum banging, bass heavy beat. I thought that was definitely a classic banger, a really good one that he put out as a single.
Yeah, so it looks like they're both Tennessee natives here rapping together. So that's cool that Duke Deuce is also from Tennessee as well as Isaiah Rashad. And it seems the sample on here is 3-6 Mafia. So the intro is just, you know, repetitive and getting you geared up for the chorus because he's just saying yeah a lot. So yeah, I think this track is dope. You really got to listen to it to appreciate those heavy drums and the production on here. And Duke Deuce did his thing. I was happy with his verse, and then it just goes to the last chorus where they're doing it together. But yeah, overall this was just a really cool track, and the single I think makes sense here. Doing this one as it's slotted perfectly in the track listing, and just a really hype track that a lot of people can enjoy and party to.
For sure, yeah, I feel like definitely right there at the 2, 3, 4 spot there, we definitely had some like good banger type songs. But getting into number 5 here is Claymore with Smino, which is one of my favorite features on this whole project, possibly my like number 1 favorite. I think he did a great job on his verse here. This track's got a really interesting like guitar beat that goes through here. I really like a lot of the time when artists do something like where you've got a guitar going with the beat, or like a piano, something like that, where you've got the like all these computerized drums and whatnot, but then you've got like the actual like instrument going with it. I think like it makes a lot of cool beats that way, and the guitar on here definitely did that. And Isaiah does pretty good on his verse and with the hooks, and then Smino comes through and he really takes over the track. He has a whole flow on here where he just rides on this beat. I think he does a great job, and it might be my favorite feature I've heard from him since Eternal off the Chance album, which not that great of an album, but Eternal, great song, high key recommend. So I think Smino did really great on here.
Before I share my thoughts on this track, I gotta tell you, since you brought up Chance, that I read a take recently that The Big Day is not a canon Chance album. he still wears the 3 hat because that was the Dragon Ball GT of Chance albums, apparently.
Oh my gosh.
if you know, his first project and Acid Rap were Dragon Ball,
then Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z is probably his third, which is, you know, the most popular and everything. And then this is The Big Day was GT. Some people found enjoyment out of it, but normally we don't talk about it.
Well, does that mean we're getting a Dragon Ball Super next from him?
Well, that's the hope, right? I mean, I think Chance should probably update his hat to say 5 or something on it and just move on. I mean, he could even put 4 on it and I wouldn't bat an eye. But yeah, I just wanted to tell you that because I thought that would be some funny commentary to add in. But this track Claymore featuring Smino was a really cool chill vibe, and it slowed things down for sure because earlier there was a bit higher BPM and some more hard drums and things, and this sort of changes the vibe up as we're going into about halfway through the album. And yeah, Smino steals the show. I thought his verse was incredible. And let's go ahead and take a look at these lyrics. This was just a catchy vibe too. Like from the moment you get into it, you know, you're just relaxing, maybe chilling on a beach somewhere, just having a good time. And even though the name of the album is The House is Burning, like there's chaos or, you know, stuff that's uncontrollable, maybe like a fire, I feel like a lot of these tracks are either like it's a bit all over the place, but I'm not sure that we got exactly as much like chaos as maybe the album or the cover in maybe could have intended or anything like that. It's a bit more controlled and polished than you would maybe think.
Yeah, it's like a controlled chaos, kind of how I feel throughout the album, where you've got a lot of the heavy drums on there throughout, but like the through lines on a lot of these beats are very chill, like very like slower BPMs and just like riding out type stuff.
Soulful at times as well. I mean, there definitely are the higher impact tracks, but this one's more chill and just a really cool vibe. And yeah, let's go ahead and look at Smino's verse. So they do a really cool bridge that leads into his verse.
True.
So they set it up too, where Smino comes in and says everything. And yeah, I mean, he's super cool. Only 11 Periscope I thought was an interesting reference because nobody uses Periscope.
Yeah.
And he's obviously telling somebody that they're lame because they only go live on Periscope. So, yeah, I think he's just pulled this off, and I was really glad to see that these two artists collaborated together because I like both their music, and I'm excited to see what Smino does for a project now that he's had so many really good features recently over the past couple of years. And I think Isaiah Rashad really got one here from him and just made a really good vibe.
For sure.
So next up was the next single, Headshots for the Locals. And this was just a super catchy sort of late night drive type of vibe. And this was the video that we were really interested in looking over. And I don't have too many thoughts that I haven't already shared about this one. But what do you think about this, Al? I mean, overall, it just kept the vibe going of the project. The placement of it in between the first single, and then we slowed down, and then we got into the second single here, was interesting to me as well, how they sort of put a transition in between those two, even though we had track number 4, the lead single, and then track number 6 is the second single. So, yeah, how'd you feel about this one?
Yeah, so yeah, especially now that I've listened to the album as a whole, listening it through, this is definitely my favorite song on the album. I feel like the intro, he says the little bit before there, he's like, I got a jam here. I was like, you are absolutely right, Isaiah. Just pure unadulterated vibes throughout this whole thing. It's just like it's not like too rappy. It's just very mellow, like a lot of repeating of the chorus, but it just feels like so nice, so relaxing, just so like it's just the vibes are immaculate. I don't know how else to describe it. I think it would just a perfect type of song to ride out to at night or like make out with a girl with, anything. Like, I feel like those two specific vibes it would be perfect for, and I love it. It's a great song.
Yeah, and we can see the cover for the single here is the same shot that we got pretty much in the video. So they had the whole concept and everything put together. And I mean, that's cool to hear that this is your favorite track on the whole thing. But I mean, the pocket that he gets into, that's just so smooth.
Yeah, that whole "call me by surprise in my brand new whip." It's just so tight. I love it so much.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, all the choruses on here are super catchy. So he really gets into some cool pockets. And here's some bars here. Pocket fat like Juno, Yeah, I tell him, eat it like Doja Cat. You see the wrist whip, it's a boulder crest. I got a crib bigger than Budapest. And the shots ain't bringing my soldier back. Damn. So he's got some real bars on here for sure.
Yeah.
And just, when we get into the second verse here, talking about covering his pain. And one thing that we really haven't touched on too much was sort of the situation that Isaiah got himself into and why he hadn't been releasing music for so long. So let's go ahead and talk about that now. Yeah, as he had been writing his success off from his first two projects. He had been signed to a major label and done headlining tours nationwide. I mean, I'm sure he did some international shows as well and just was super successful and working with Top Dog Entertainment, one of the bigger labels in the game right now. I'm sure he was just going through stuff that is pretty unimaginable for most of us. And that level of success and getting whatever you want and in drugs or women or whatever, it sort of came to a head when he found himself running out of money and homeless on the street and just going through a lot of struggles. And so in the time that we hadn't heard from him, it was sort of a there was a lot of turmoil going on in his life. And so I think the House is Burning title from there makes a lot of sense, because not only were we inside a lot last year, having it be 2020, but his pretty much inside his world, inside what has gone on for him, had all come to a head and stopped when he had the party being over. And I'm glad to see that he's doing better now and taking care of his situation, his family members and everything. But I mean, I can't imagine my position and what I would do if I had all that success and money and anything that I really wanted. I mean, it's not a surprise to me that someone would just run with that until it stopped one day and they had to sort of look up and say, wow, I've got to slow down and sort of take care and get some music put together, and work on myself. And I think that's what a lot of Isaiah's verses, a little bit cryptically, are referencing, that pain that he worked through and how he's now on the other side of it, enjoying himself again, even though the house was burning for him before.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like, I could definitely tell from just listening to the songs on this that he's been going through a lot, but I hadn't heard the stories about it leading up until this.
Yeah, there were a handful of articles that came out, and I was reading through them just so that we could have some more insight on where he was coming from in this project. But yeah, I'm glad to see that he's doing better, man. Like, I can't imagine what he was going through. So I'm just happy to see that he's giving us music again and producing some really creative visuals for the project as well, and setting the scene for hopefully a really good career as he continues on here.
For sure. And hopefully, like, making all this and being able to put his art out has been like a therapeutic process for him.
Yeah.
Because it affects a lot of artists that way.
Definitely.
Yeah, so coming off of that, we'll be going into the 7th track on here, All Herb, featuring, I don't want to mispronounce her name here, but I think it's Amindi. And I was really impressed by her on here. She's another one of the features on here who I hadn't heard of, but I like love her voice. I thought it was a really unique through line on the beat on here. I thought that was one of the more unique beats on the album. I thought it was very smooth, and Amindi, her voice is really cool on the hook, and she sounds great on here. And I was more than anything impressed by her appearance on here. And I didn't even know she shows up later on here, but like, because there's another song where it totally sounds like her, but she's not listed as a feature. But yeah, this one especially, I thought she was really good.
Yeah, so they must have had her actually feature on this track and then do some additional vocals when they're in the studio working on it together. But yeah, I think the layering with the vocals on the feature as well as Isaiah's verses was super cool. Like, as I said at the beginning, they introduce you with a lot of different vocal tricks and different voices that Isaiah starts delivering his verses in, and I was just really excited to hear that. And it's definitely like a boom bap type beat, so this is like in our wheelhouse of sort of classic hip hop, like what we really enjoy hearing, and having some connection to the origins of the genre. So I think that was super cool, and how it was sort of cut down for Zay's verse and simplified a bit, I appreciated as well, just to get some variety in the production. And the feature was really good, and overall super enjoyable track.
I definitely agree.
On Genius here it says it's a wavy video game like beat. I don't know about that exactly, but they are going together on the intro there, and then Isaiah gives the chorus before his verse, and then they sing the chorus together there. And she has the second verse, and then there's a bridge, and then the chorus again, and outro. So yeah, I think this is just an overall dope vibe, and I mean, we haven't been disappointed by a track yet, right? Like, this is track number 7, and we're still really enjoying all of the songs so far. So
yeah, I think up until this point, there's not a single miss on here.
I would definitely agree.
But I feel like that might change a little bit with the next one. The next one didn't quite hit as much for me.
Well, let's talk about it then. It's Hey Mista, and track number 8 here. And it's just a quick little vibe, just super short. And I thought the refrain and chorus here, and the cash machine obviously counting up, was a really cool addition. And he's just really talking about how he got some money, a place, and everything he wanted when he came up. And I mean, what didn't you like about this track? I'm curious.
So for me, I thought it was all right while it lasted, but it kind of just left me wanting more. I thought it was just it kind of got through pretty quick. I don't know if this was the shortest song on the album, but I feel like it was like less than 2 minutes. And just the flow he was in, it wasn't my favorite. It was kind of mumbly. Like, he had some good bars, but I just couldn't hear him quite as well. And I just thought, and the beat didn't stick out quite as much as some of the other ones. So I didn't think it was bad, but I don't think it was quite what I wanted. Like, especially with it being a little shorter, it just kind of felt like a little forgettable to me, kind of like an interlude, like bridging between a couple tracks. So it just didn't stand out quite as much.
Man, but you gotta like this chorus though, when he comes in and he says, "Yeah, we was on peas, on blades, we was on sofas." I think that it's just super catchy, the chorus at least. But
yeah, I like understand the chorus, but yeah, like as you can like see in here, it's like pretty short verses. Yeah.
Just a quick little vibe, and I really like the yeah in the background on this one. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, true. I did like that, how they brought that in on the beat. I thought that sounded cool.
But I mean, short lines even in the longer verse here on the second half. But it was just a quick overall vibe, and leads us into our next track.
Yeah. So the next one on here is True Story, featuring J Rock and Jay Worthy, and it has Amindi on here, but not shown as a feature. And I was surprised because, like, listening to the song, I was like, who is that on the hook again? It sounds just like her. Like, and I know it's not J Rock. It's not this Jay Worthy guy, because he's got the last verse. So I was like, so that's got to be her again. And I looked on the Genius, and it is her, Amindi again. and I think she does like might even be even better on the hook here. But the real star, and like it's a really hummable melody, but the real star on this track is J-Rock. I think he has a great verse. It's vintage, going right back into like his Money Trees pocket. I feel like he did great on here. And so this is definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, it was catchy from the beginning, and I could tell that once I had set it up that the features were just going to slide on this thing because the beat from the jump was super smooth and just something that I knew that both artists that were featured on here would deliver on. I guess I could say both Jays on here were going to deliver a really cool verse. So check out the lyrics on this one. And Isaiah Rashad comes in, and he's got some deeper bars on this one. Why you trying to break my heart? Why you trying to infiltrate my mind? Yeah, lights on the crib. Ice all on my... yeah, nicer than I feel, darker than the feel. Yeah, ice all on my kids, lights out in the crib. And, yeah, I mean, keep on going here. We can see the chorus there, singing it together. And we go into verse 2. Where J-Rock comes on in, and then Jay Worthy right afterwards, not even a chorus. Like from the jump, I could tell this was going to be real hip hop, you know. And then the chorus comes in after both artists get to share their time. So really, only 2 choruses on here?
Yeah, to start off and end it off pretty much.
Any specific bars you want to point out?
I don't remember specifically. Let me see on J-Rock's verse, because that was what I liked a lot.
I liked when he said,
"Oh yeah, I'm the eastiest." Like that whole part. I thought that was catchy.
That was a really cool pocket that he got into, and I did like when he said, "If I was down before this verse, then I'm back on my feet with this."
Yeah. I thought he sounded really cool when he was getting through that part of the verse.
Top dog alumni with it.
Yeah, that one too.
But yeah, overall, really cool track.
For sure.
And next up was the 3rd single that was released, and this is track 10, What You Said. And this is actually featuring I Am Doechii and Cal Banks. And they get in really cool pockets immediately on the verses. And even though I didn't really care for the lyrical content too much on this track, it was a pretty enjoyable one still. Like I would say maybe this one I didn't like it as much as some of the other ones. I could definitely understand why this was the 3rd single and not like the lead one or something like that. But I did enjoy also that diegetic sound like we were talking about, speeding in a car, and the outro right when it transitions into the next track. But what do you think about What You Said?
Yeah, so I was kind of surprised that this one, well, like with listening through the album as a whole afterwards, I was surprised this one ended up being chosen as one of the singles, because it's not that I didn't like it, but I don't know, I feel like there could have been some better choices to like be a single. But still, Doechii, I hadn't heard of her before, and she did great on here. I really liked her verse, and the chorus I wasn't as huge of a fan of, but I feel like Doechii's verse I was really impressed by.
Yeah, check out the lyrics on this one. He said, I was tripping, you was tripping, who the pilot, at the beginning of his verse. I just thought that was at least catchy leading into it. But, I mean, we saw the video on this one, right? They're having a party outside. And when she comes in and on the second verse, when she says, drunk on a Saturday.
Yeah, that one's catchy.
That was the part that stood out to me. And then, yeah, I mean, overall, even though this song almost nears 3 minutes, I feel like it was a quicker listen and a higher BPM, obviously, and just a faster track to come in as track number 10 here.
Yeah, that one might have been a little underwhelming compared to some of the others. Not one of the worst, but not quite. Like, especially coming, like, I think it's sandwiched here between a couple great tracks, and True Story was really good, and Don't Shoot coming up here at 11, I thought was a great song. And like some of the best bars on the whole project here, and a really smooth like background where it's like don't shoot, and I feel like the tempo that Zay is in on here is like, I think it might be my second favorite pocket that he finds throughout the whole album. I feel like it was a really good tempo that fit his style.
Yeah, I would say this one slowed things down a bit, and it was more of a soulful type beat with the uh, bass guitar going through and sort of classic hip hop production that we had seen glimpses of before this. But this track really highlights that. And yeah, I was hooked from the jump. I was ready to enjoy it, and he has some bars in here too. So overall, this is one of my favorites, and even gets jazzy at the end. So it's like they knew that I was going to be reviewing and talking about this, because anything with like horns or saxophone, I'm gonna enjoy it. Like however they try and use it in there, I'm gonna like the song most likely, just because that instrumentation to me is really interesting and cool to use in hip hop specifically.
Yeah, definitely. How I was talking about earlier with like the pianos and guitars and stuff, like getting brass instruments in like that too is also really fun when they get creative that way with it.
Yeah, he's got some bars on here, but I'll let y'all decipher it for yourself. We're not trying to feed you everything from the album, but just to share our thoughts. I mean, this was probably in my top 5 for sure. And what he's talking about on here too with Don't Shoot is the relationship between the African American community in the United States and beyond, and how that relationship with the police isn't anything near trusting or friendly, and they're pretty much just looking to not die. I mean, at the beginning of the second verse, "Don't die, my dude," and they say it's gonna go down on blood. So can't blame your God. Sometimes you gotta maintain your side. So he's saying, yeah, the people in the neighborhood are about to scrap or pull the gun out and go on some stuff. Police are soon to follow. So I think it touches on a lot of different stuff here in the community as well as with police, and maybe I'm just reading too far into it and taking a lot from it, but I'm pretty sure that's what he intended on this track here.
Yeah, I feel like it definitely carries the feeling of just unease and like not feeling complete security,
And the intro I really liked here: smoking a killer, dodging a killin', making a killin'. And that wordplay is just stuff that I'll always enjoy hearing on hip hop tracks. And that leads us into track number 12, actually titled Chad, which is, I think that name is sort of tainted for me because I associate it with the internet meme of the Chad, or like the Omega male that is, going to the gym every day, drinking his pre-workout, and has a really chiseled jawline. That's just what I think of when I hear the name Chad. So I'm not really sure why he chose the title of this track like that, but I thought this was just a super catchy vibe, again, like a lot of the other tracks on here, and the production was pretty complex. Like there's a lot to decipher through there and pick through, but another really bass heavy track. But what'd you think about it, Al?
Yeah, I feel like this one, I would have chosen this one as a single over the third one that he dropped. I think this one really could have slotted in there in that third single spot really well. Like you were saying, really cool beat on here. The bass was really bumping, and the other guy on here, YGTUT, it's like Young Tut or something, I would think. I hadn't heard of him before, but I really liked his verse. And yeah, I feel like this one really encapsulated pretty well, even like similar to it being up tempo like the first few tracks on here, but like how you were saying, the beat's more complex now. So I was really impressed by this one. Like this song a lot, and I would have been slotted in good as a third single.
Yeah, and this is actually another Chattanooga, Tennessee native, so the exact same town. So Isaiah Rashad's really reaching out to local artists to get involved with this project, and I can appreciate that as somebody who's working on getting local artists shows and creating media in that space. So I think that's really cool that a lot of the features on here were people from his native area, not just Hollywood, people that are, in the industry already. So the chorus on here, man, it's catchy, man.
Oh yeah.
If I wasn't rapping, baby, I would still be riding Mercedes.
Yeah, definitely one of the catchier hooks on here.
And then, well, this verse 1, it's almost like a bridge almost, because it's still very melodic and leads into the feature pretty well. And then Isaiah comes back and gives us a couple of more bars here at the end before the chorus rides out again, and then he really goes in and starts to sort of interpolate the chorus as the song is gaining up for the chorus again. And then at the end there's an interlude. So yeah, I thought this track was pretty cool and super catchy overall. I'm not sure if I would have said this would be a good single, maybe for the third single.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely wouldn't put it as 1 or 2. But apparently this is their 7th collaboration together, so that's good on them. They've been frequent collaborators making music together.
Yeah, it's cool that he's really like riding out for the scene like that. Because I feel like there's some other like in like Chicago or like New York, I feel like there's a lot of like camaraderie among artists from those areas where they'll really like collaborate with each other. But that's really cool seeing that out of like an emerging market like Memphis, seeing like a lot coming out of there, because they're kind of maybe seen as like an offshoot of like Atlanta style, but like Atlanta's got its own thing though. I think Memphis is like a totally unique type of style in comparison. All right, so next up we've got the 13th track, 9 to 3 Freestyle. And I thought this was a pretty slick track on here. It was another one of the shorter ones on here, but I thought it had some funny bars packed in there. But upon further listens, I kind of forgot about this one a little bit too. So I feel like there's only 2 on here I forgot a little bit, but this one still, like, it stuck with me a little more, and what he packed in here stuck with me a little more, and this one was able to make the playlist. So throughout the whole listening experience here, there was only like the one song that didn't end up in my playlist.
Yeah, this song's all about him and the different women that he's with and pleasing, and the yeah chant that I was talking about earlier is really profound here in the beat, and it is a quicker one. I mean, I think the chant really makes it feel like a freestyle, maybe a cypher where you're just rapping in a group of people talking about how cool you are and everything, just classic type hip hop stuff. And at the end, when he gets to rapping that stanza, I think we really should have got that earlier, man. Like I wish that the song wasn't over so quick right when it gets to my favorite part, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, let's just go ahead and take a look at it here. Because these bars are just funny. Once he goes,
I don't know, it's right
get a
from
Prius.
the jump too.
And I mean, that's exactly what freestyles are like, right? I mean, you're just thinking of the funny stuff that you can off the top of your head, and yeah, just going in. And the second verse is the same thing. I mean, I think the pocket that he gets into here is so good. I want to count all the Benjamins. She want to on the Benjamin make a predicament. And yeah, I mean, his hitting all those syllables in there was really impressive to me too.
Yeah, with those bigger words, it's kind of like it from like being a rapper and everything. It's hard to fit all that into like like where it sounds good in each line.
But it was true freestyle. He's just refraining pretty much throughout this. He'll say the stanza and then refrain here, but yeah, I just wish the song wasn't over so quick right after that, because that's definitely my favorite part. So next up is the highly anticipated Score featuring Black and SZA. And I think all 3 of these artists, along with Isaiah Rashad, were overdue for a collab, because, man, this is amazing. Like, Isaiah Rashad and SZA had obviously collaborated previously, but bringing Black, or Six Lack, like some people call him, into this was a really good vibe. I think he really delivered here on this project. And I mean, we're getting to wrapping up the album here on track 14, so I appreciated sort of the slower vibe going towards the end here. And overall, this song was just amazing. At the end, there's a cicada bug noise, and here out in Iowa and Midwest in general, he's in Tennessee obviously, but throughout America, these cicada bugs so annoying and really loud too. So hearing that at the end, I was like, wait, is this actually outside my house? Or am I hearing this? But no, it was part of the track.
I felt that for sure. Yeah, it's funny how he incorporated that in there. But yeah, I definitely feel this was a really cool, not even like a rap track. This is basically an R&B track at this point on here. And I thought SZA and Isaiah Rashad were both like they did exactly what I expected them to do coming into this song. They both sounded really good, really good. How they like flowed together from Isaiah's part into SZA's part. I feel like it was a good transition into that. But then Black came in, and he was the last one that showed up on here, and he just took it all away. Like, he stole the show on here. I feel his verse was great, and yeah, really good R&B track overall. And I was very much anticipating this one going in, and every single artist on here lived up to my expectations, and Black, I think, even exceeded what I expected from him, which like, I've heard some stuff from him before. I haven't delved deep into his stuff, but I've always dug his flow. He's got a really unique voice, and I think he did a great job on here.
Yeah, for sure. Check out the lyrics for this one, and the chorus right from the jump. Play right, god damn it. And goes, na 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 na. That, melody for the chorus was good, and then they had different vocal chops from each of the artists on there, so it really set the scene of sort of a, like we were saying, sort of a cinematic experience with the mixing and mastering. And on Isaiah Rashad's verse, he's really singing on here. You're right, it is an R&B song.
Yeah.
And then we get into the chorus again before SZA delivers her verse. I mean, we're overdue for a SZA project as well, so I mean, I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure she waited longer to release music than Isaiah Rashad, because didn't Control come out in 2016?
Yeah, I feel like it was right around that same time too.
So she's overdue for a new album as well. So I'm sure we'll be seeing that in the coming years, or
Yeah,
I mean,
and
maybe by the end of this year. She released actually some singles last year, didn't she?
yeah,
But not a project.
Yeah, because even without having an album in that time, she's gotten way more popular since her last album came out. Like, she's had the song she had with Justin Timberlake like last year or 2 years ago that was super popular.
On the Black Panther soundtrack.
Yeah, well, yeah, and All the Stars too, even before like All the Stars I feel like was the breakout one. And then had the one with Justin Timberlake, and then one with Doja Cat, and then like Good Days. She's had a bunch of stuff
that was last year.
Yeah, just hit singles that's really rose her popularity since then. So I'm really excited to see what she has next.
Yeah, she's a great singer, and they don't even, after her verse, go into the chorus. They just go ahead and jump right into the next one, and he's got a decently long verse on here. I mean, it's probably about the same length overall. I'd actually have to time it out, but he interpolates the chorus here. And I mean, if you're an R&B singer, then you know that you got to, in a verse of your song, get back in the pocket by singing the chorus, and then he's using that melody for his verse as well, and then
he did a really good job.
Goes into the chorus at the end. So yeah, I think this was in my top 3 for sure, along with some of the other, probably maybe one of the singles, and then that one we were talking about earlier that was really classic hip hop and boom bap. But this one is deserving of a playlist spot
for sure.
Yeah.
This one I'm pretty sure made the regular hip hop and the Fly Honey playlist. So
there you go.
It's certified. Yeah, that brings us into the penultimate song on the album, the technically title track, even though it's just the acronym
abbreviated title track.
Abbreviated. Yeah, THIB, The House is Burning. And I thought this was a good one. I was interested why this was the title track, because in the verse it kind of gets into like what he's been going through and stuff. Gives us like a little window. It's a pretty personal track, and I thought this is another one where it was like a more simple type beat, but like it worked really well. Like there's some of the other ones on here that are like more complicated and it elevates it, but some of them where it's just like you got the drums, you got the little pattern on there, and it works pretty well. And this is definitely one of those. And I really liked how it had the beat switch at the end of the song where it like intros into the last song.
Yeah, I think overall this was a really good one where he sort of talks about his struggles with alcoholism and abusing substances, and lets us know that while he was gone, everything wasn't perfect. Like, some of the tracks are sort of bragging about the different things that he has going on. This is a window into that chaos that we were referencing earlier. And the chorus goes, "Who's that creeping in my window?" So he's paranoid too. So he's also saying, "Who's messing with my conscience?" So he's saying, I haven't been holding on to my morals or, doing what I would have in the past. I am sort of questioning my conscience and my character a little bit here, and doing some stuff that, is causing me to become an addict. And I think this one was really cool with how it transitioned as well. But overall, like, how many tracks so far? This is 15, the next is 16. How many tracks so far have we maybe skipped, or not even skipped, but like not enjoyed as much the other ones? Like 1 or 2?
Literally at this point, it's like, for me, like 1.5. Like it's been very impressive.
I think that goes to show why they took so long to work on it and sort of incubate this music. Who knows how long ago they started working on this project? I mean, some of these snippets were teased throughout the years that he was MIA, not releasing anything through social media and things. But overall, I think they took their time with this one, and the product really shows. And I'm glad that we're getting to talk about it, because Isaiah Rashad's one of those artists that I'm always going to be looking out for, especially after an impressive project like this. But the very last track is the longest on the album, and it's HB2U. And it's him reminiscing about his past and going into some other subjects and things that were maybe touched on earlier, but he's getting into a little bit more here. And there's quite a variety, as there's an A side and a B side. And the first side is pretty mellow hip-hop track with some slower production. And when he says, "I want my payback," that's just really nice to sing. That refrain with the chorus is really cool. And again, it evolves, and the production is various. Like, it uses different elements showed throughout with verses and the choruses and thing, but it has horns in there when we're getting towards the end of the A side. So I thought that was really cool. But what do you think about the first half of this track?
Man, I was really impressed by this one. Like, honestly,
Firearm.
Like, it earned it. Like,
Firearm.
It is. This one was really cool. This is my like, the first half of this song was easily my favorite beat on the whole project, where it has just the ooh, like, vocal sample in the background, and how Isaiah's rapping on this one. Like, this is definitely my favorite version of him. Like, he's so versatile in being able to, like, find his way between all these different, like, avenues within his style. And this is, like, my favorite branch off that he does. Like, this reminds me a lot more of his previous work, and maybe more of what I was used to hearing, like, Sevilla Demo. And I thought there was really cool production on here. It sounded like an old Kanye type beat, how it had the soul sample.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, Isaiah Rashad I loved how he was on the first half of this song. Like, if I could have just another project right now where it's just like 16 songs with, like, him in this type of a thing, I would love that so much. Like, not taking away from this album at all, because I feel like even though what he did on this album overall was really different and like, very vibes driven, like, it wasn't always about, like, him getting into like, rapping on, like, a really cool beat like this. I feel like it was really interesting how he just found his way between all the different styles coming up into here. And then it was how he transitioned off into the second half of the song. It was getting a lot more, not necessarily what we were used to in the rest of the album, but like, kind of similar, where it was just slowed it down even more than a lot of the rest of the album. And it was just the whole it was like, "You are now a human being." It was just very
sort of psychedelic.
Yeah, it was dreamlike. Is how I came away from it. And
I gotta add in here, though, before we get into that, refrain and the sort of vibe that takes over the track on the second half, we get some more diegetic sound sort of setting the scene with some wind, and then a lawnmower actually starts, and then it flows into complete silence before that track sort of just escalates and jumps right in. And I think the production really fits Zay well in this one. Like, as you said, he's got so many different styles, and production like is various on this. And I'm not sure if I would want, even though I might like some of his soulful and more classic hip-hop R&B influenced tracks, I'm not sure I'd want a full project of that, because this one gave us quite a bit of variety with all the different songs that he's putting on here. I mean, with 16 tracks, you can't just do the same type of vibe over and over again. So, I mean, the second half on here, I enjoyed it. Not nearly as much as the first half, but it ends somewhat unceremoniously and just fades into a little bit of a haze that sort of fits the vibe of the album, and just ends where it sort of picked up with the chaos of everyday life and going through it and struggling every day. He's talking about how you're a human being, you're feeling the different parts of the human experience, and being an emotional person, and trying to express that on this track, I thought worked really well. They're sort of talking about this as an outro on the track, where I would say it's more of an A-side, B-side type thing.
Yeah, it definitely, to me, felt like it took up enough time on there where it felt like it was a whole second half. And I really liked with all the like haziness and dreamlikeness to it. It was a really cool guitar that was in on this part too. I was really a big fan of the guitar that he brought in there, and it just sounded like super wispy, and it had like these cool background vocals in there too. Like, I thought it was a really cool mashup between the very different styles on the first half of the song and the second half of the song. It really showed his range.
Yeah, check the lyrics out on this one, where this is what we're talking about at the beginning. He just goes in on the verse, and it's just super smooth, and reminds us of some of his earlier work. And then the chorus is just smooth. I want my payback. It's all for you.
Yeah, that definitely got stuck in my head a ton.
And your face was Blizzard. Are you numb enough again? How I sang it with that purple Power Ranger in my Benz. It's a Jeep, but I'm gonna get it. I'm still rocking when I visit. So he's got some lyrical content on here if you're willing to read into it a little bit. But you can see this is sort of marked as an outro on here, even though it's deserving to be sort of its own track in my opinion. But he's even admitting that he's not totally sober still, and he's still struggling with stuff, enjoying himself, but hopefully in moderation, just to not cause any, chaos that in his life. But he's saying, I'm still on drugs, just had that weekend buzz. And even saying I'm imploding, going with the theme of the house is burning, just, blowing up from the inside. And that you are now a human being refrain, as the track and the album wrap up. But overall, what did you think about this, man? I feel like we talked about our overall thoughts in between already, but maybe we should just jump into how we'd rate it. So on this show, if you're not familiar, we have a 1 to 5 rating system where we go from 1, which is throw it out, to wouldn't skip. I would maybe check out the album if you're a fan, or looking to hear something interesting. 3 is definitely putting some tracks in the playlist. And then 4 is I would recommend people. I would go out of my way to tell people about it. I feel like anything that we do on this show, we're recommending, or we are talking about it enough to where people are gonna probably check it out. And then 5 is on repeat, so we're definitely gonna be listening tracks from the beginning to the end. I think I would probably leave this one at a 4, just because there were a couple of tracks that I'm not the biggest fan of, but there's still plenty of variety on here that if you're a hip-hop fan, or even just looking for that one R&B song, you should definitely check out and see what Isaiah Rashad has to offer here with his third full-length project. But how would you rate this, Alec?
Yeah, I fall right around the same spot at like a 4. So I don't think it was I would have to listen to it back to back with Sevilla Demo, because I think this ranks higher than Sun's Tirade in what I would how I would go about looking at Isaiah Rashad's stuff, but I don't know if it quite reaches what his initial debut came out as, because that was really special to me, my first listen to on that. But I feel like he really diversified what he does here and really got into a bunch of different lanes, how I've been saying. Like it's just a very there's a very good variety on here. And even though it all sounds like Isaiah Rashad, it all sounds like a little bit different every which like track you choose on here. So I definitely recommend it on here, but I don't know if it quite reaches the peak of his first one.
Yeah, I've got a couple listen throughs left on this just to feel the vibes out again. I feel like when we approach these, we spin the album so many times in a shorter amount of time that you don't really get to live with it as much. So even though it came out a week ago now, we are still sort of ingesting it and breaking it down for ourselves. But we'd love to hear what you think. Go ahead and leave us a comment if you've listened to the album already, or if you're planning on checking out specific tracks. And we will definitely be responding to your comments and appreciative of all the interactions. Go ahead and follow us at Boom Bap Bros on all social media platforms, and our personal accounts are at PatG563 and at Alec Delandy. So interact with us on there. If you have any questions about the show or comments or improvements that you would like us to make or anything, go ahead and reach out.
Yeah, and more than anything, stream Headshots. That song is immaculate.
All right, I've been Pat G.
And I'm Alec G over here.
Appreciate everybody who made it this far. If you have, go ahead and comment something specific that we talked about. Respond specifically to either what we really liked or really didn't like, and we'd love to hear from you. So signing off, check out Boom Bap Bros, and we'll catch you next time.